There you go.
So,
Careful that.
Roberta's not here yet. Roberta's not here yet, so Dan is gonna be acting chair to open the meeting.
Okay. Call this meeting of the town of Galvin to order. Welcome, everybody. And we have a quorum. And why don't we start with the peer improvement project updates?
Okay, so the pier is, as we all see, clocking along pretty well. Had a good summer. I think, Jake and Ed and all the folks managing that have done a good job. Reed, Collier, GZA. I mean, they had to from my side, the interactions with the town and the town dock and the harbor master has gone better than I could have expected.
This is how I feel.
Yeah, it's quieter than we all expected and it continues to be so, which is nice. There are gonna be some louder phases as we get to the part where we're between the T head and the dock, but I think we're gonna be pouring some concrete this fall. We have good weather this winter. I mean, we can foreseeably have a ship there. Certainly have the ship when it gets done to cruise next year. So working on a lot of that stuff. So pier project going along. Curtis Hall is obviously in full swing as well. So we'll turn the first completed phase over in January and move students into the first phase, and we'll move on to I call it phase 2, but I think we're doing it out of order now just because of sequence. But they're doing a good job there. They've done a pretty efficient job. I think we've had some questions about the air inductions on top, and so those are things that we just have to do for code, putting fresh air into a 60-year-old building, things like that. We are hoping to approach the state for money for the windows and a roof there, but since we're on the window topic, one of my favorite topics, Dismukes and Levitt have gotten the rest of the windows done, which is a game changer for the inhabitants. And both from I think a looks perspective, but also last year we had a good bit more efficiency in the parts that were done. So Peter and his gang done a bang up job with the contractors, and from an energy perspective, it's huge. And I was in Amy's office last week. It was like 10 degrees less than it normally is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's off in the greenhouse. So
Yeah.
It's been great.
The look of the building coming into town, it looks like a more modern brick building, and yeah, it's going to be a lot better all in all, and it feels good when I look out the windows and they're not that kind of that smoggy glass look.
Yeah.
They're 120-year-old windows or whatever they were. So
Yeah,
But-
single pane. They're great.
Yeah.
If I could add, our contractors who were in Dismukes, was it E.L. Shea?
Yeah.
They were fantastic. I mean, my office was really the only one that had, consistent staff in it. Super respectful, humorous, just really great crew to work around, and they made it so easy. So very, very pleasant. So hire them again for anything. They were good.
yeah, so good contract, good. Peter's group's very good with the management, and the workers have been quite respectful and nice. So I'll give you a roll into a ship update. So next week, the 26th, we'll be christening the ship in Philadelphia. Former Secretary of Transportation, Elaine Chao is our sponsor. She's standing in for Senator Collins. So she'll be breaking the glass bottle. We've got White House officials of some sort coming, where they swept the yard yesterday. So we figure some fairly high level officials are coming. We don't know which ones. We think Secretary Duffy will come. Maybe the Secretary of Commerce and a few others. The president of South Korea will be there as well. The shipyard's owned by Hanwha, so we're expecting that to be a nice event. And then we take delivery of the ship on September 10th. That's just a paper exercise, and then the ship will stay there for 3 weeks as we complete a lot of necessary items to be able to really take possession of it. Right now, the ship's scheduled October 5th to sail to Portland, with arrival on the morning of October 5th. So we're gonna have a grand celebration in Portland. Senator Collins will be there. Everybody here will get an invite from the town, Maine legislature. The first time we've ever had a new ship donated or given to us. So we're looking forward to that. That'll be probably a midday reception. It's a Sunday. And just to add the complication, we made it, of course, the Sunday of homecoming. So, so, so just to add a few more things. So homecoming on the Thursday night, we have the senior barbecue at Wyman House. Saturday, or Friday will be the cookout slash food trucks in the field house like last year. I think a couple of you guys came, and we'll invite the town to come. And it's a mixing, like we did last year, mixing the students and alumni and townspeople and parents and whoever comes together. We found that to be really nice last year for the students, and it used to be everyone would be eating inside, and the students just be milling around outside. But much better, and students are a lot more interactive, and it's good for the students and good for everybody. And Saturday, we're for our first varsity football game in 5 years.
Actually, our first home game is the weekend before.
That first home game, but our first, yeah,
Our first homecoming football.
first homecoming varsity football game since what year?
20.
Since 2019, so just a couple of years. So we got a good roster of those folks. I was talking earlier, we got a good roster of sailors, we got a big incoming class. We got 200 north of 290-ish.
Yeah. June,
That's where we're gonna end up.
98, somewhere in there. Yeah,
Yep, how did that compare to like the last 2 or 3 years?
Last year, I think we settled in around,
about 30 more. I
yeah,
think the last couple of years were 260, 270.
yeah.
You know, and once everyone checks in and you know.
Yeah. The bigger difference was in the regiment.
Mhm.
Last year, we were probably finished up RPT with 130 something, 135 maybe.
Big.
This year, we're like 199 in the regiment. There's some voluntary, but
There's a few volunteers.
yeah. We started north of 200, which is biggest number I know of in a long time. So that's a good thing. So since we were last year, we made the decision to relieve some Curtis issues and move students into Leavenhall. So they'd be residing above my office. So that is now resident. So what that is relieve some of the pressures of the triples. So that was an interesting twist, but we have our own housing issues as we know from the housing committee. So we have some things to work on between now and next year, and gonna bring in another good sized class. So, but I'm trying to think what else we're missing.
Conferencing.
What's that?
Conferencing.
Conferencing?
So we switched over to.
Yeah, so the conferencing, we switched over to Sodexo. So instead of Rachel being the 1 hour member, we put that conference services on Sodexo and have a new contract with them to do that. So they'll be able to use our facilities here, Bucksport, and hopefully be a one-stop shop for people if you want to host things and things like that. Let's see, we got Ship the Bowden's coming back in. Obviously, we're expecting some weather or some swell from the hurricane, but no direct effects. But the Bowden right now is off of Mohegan,
Mhm.
and they're at anchor, so they're working their way back in. And then
Students around.
we have the independent students arriving on tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep, and then Monday, we're not doing convocation this week or this year because most of us gonna be in Philadelphia getting ready for the for that. So they've got a cookout on Sunday at 1:00 for the regiment. That's how we're gonna finish that. So you'll see them marching through town on Sunday morning. So that'll be neat. I'll miss the ship, no, we're gonna have to work. We're gonna have to figure that out in the future. But that ship's too tall.
Mhm.
So we have to build a plank. But we'll get there again. And then on October 6th, the ship sails from Portland to Searsport. And there we'll reside until we're gonna do a little mini cruise before Christmas, till about middle of December. So a lot of moving parts. We got homecoming, we got just a lot of events coming up, but it's gonna be a busy fall, but a good one. And we'll be messaging the students shortly. Peter grabbed some signs yesterday. We're gonna talk very clearly about the parking. The regiment is going in with the folks from the land trust. Creating fire breaks in Witherly Woods. That's partly town service, but also partly education and getting the students comfortable with Witherly, but also understanding what the risks and dangers are there with fire and everything else too. And shout out to Amy and all the fire department too. A lot of our folks turned to brought food and things for the fire that we had a week and a half ago. That's a good example of the town.
It might be helpful if, I'm sure we all have some photos of damage,
Mhm.
but like, if the students saw like, this is what happened just a mile or two out of town.
Yeah.
We really have to be careful.
I think Justin's gonna deliver that message very clearly and make, yeah. So nice having a fire department member as commandant now.
Right.
So, there's not a lot of filtering between the two. Yeah, and I'm assuming we're gonna have another load of people joining the fire department as well, so.
When's the cookout on the beach? Is that this weekend?
26,
Yeah.
26.
Sunday.
So is that the one you were talking?
No,
alluded to,
26th is
different
next
one?
week. What's that?
So it's this Sunday for
This
that one,
Sunday.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
this
so
Sunday.
that's different, okay.
Yep.
All right,
That's regimental cookout.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of right now.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
No, that's okay.
Can I just,
Yeah,
I just wanted to reiterate some of the stuff you said about the pier and stuff. Scott Vogel, the harbor master, couldn't be here this morning, but, and I know that he spoke one-on-one with Reed.
Mhm.
But he went and on behalf of the town and harbor committee to thank them and MMA for the assistance with the rescue with a lady, a girl in a kayak who
Mhm.
tipped over. And so that was really, it was crucial and it was a big help and everybody says thank you to everybody down there on the waterfront. Another example about how we all work together.
Yeah, I didn't know if that one had been mentioned, because that one happened just before your last town again, and I was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and they talked about it at the harbor committee and,
Was this with the kayak? I knew.
the girl in the kayak.
No, but was she part of the kayak, Karen kayak there?
I think she was independent. I think she was just out there kayaking and,
We were down having lunch and we saw it and it just looked like it was a pair
Okay,
of
Yeah.
kayakers, but there was a really nice response. from
okay.
yeah, it was a huge
the-
response.
The crew there, yeah.
A good group of people, a lot of Prindles down there.
Well, yeah, right, but she got back in the pack and then they kept kayaking.
Yeah, right,
So, I
right,
mean,
yeah.
everything was good, we're
It
like,
was
okay,
good. It was good.
onward, so. but
And I
yeah.
also know that, there have been a few issues with speeding and wakes and, some complications that have resulted from that, but everybody working together down there as well. Trying to resolve that and keep that at bay so we can keep everybody safe in the construction zone.
We were sailing the other day and this powerboat just came in barreling in. And they clearly were not from Castine and a huge wake and I saw somebody who got in a boat and went out and met them. But when we sailed back in, you don't see the no wake buoys until you're kind of like in. And I'm just wondering if as for those of us who are here, we know, but for people who aren't from here, it's kind of like it's almost too late. And so I'm wondering if they could just put a bigger sign out on a float or something, so that people from away could get notified sooner.
Yeah, I'll talk to them about it. Of course, those things went, the high tide the other day, those things went sailing out on their own,
Yeah, right.
out of the bay, they had to go up, drag it back and resettle it, so.
Yeah. It seems that at almost every select board meeting or every other work session, somebody brings up something about speeding. It's this thing that just doesn't go away. And I just keep asking myself, are we missing something? Is there something we could do? Because, we had somebody from the Wadsworth Code Road here the other day and talking about people, speeding over and he said, it's as much the summer people as it is the year-round people and the students. I mean, there's no finger pointing here other than the whole speeding around town just continues to be a problem that we talk about, we try to address it, and we don't get, we don't get where we want to go. I don't want to say we don't get anywhere.
Made some
I don't know once we have the data, but I think it's, to me, this summer seemed a little calmer.
Yeah.
It seemed calmer overall,
So I don't know if you noticed the last 3 mornings, the sheriff has been in town.
Yeah, I saw that.
7 in the morning.
oh, that's great,
So,
great.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
pops, I was on my way back the other night from Blue Hill from track, freaking front of a track, and he had 2 people pulled over on 166A.
Oh.
And so he
Yeah.
clearly is, they clearly are around a little bit more.
Yeah.
Very good.
So that's good, but those certainly, those were townspeople, I know who they were.
Yeah, I'm making an appointment with Lewis to go over and hang out at their house.
Okay.
And just see.
You know, one of the other things I wonder though is, I think some of it, I mean, there tends to be some loud vehicles in town.
Yeah.
And I think when people hear a loud vehicle, they maybe think it's going faster than it
Sure.
really is. So some of it may be some misperception by, you know, thinking that there's more speeding going on than there really is.
You know,
I
yeah,
mean, I'm not saying that there's not, and I'm not saying that's an excuse, but you know, part of it could be maybe a little misperception.
it could be, and also if it's really dry and somebody's going down like Mayo Point Road, dust is
And
gonna
it's-
fly no
yeah.
matter what.
Yeah.
What, I mean, it's gonna fly more if you're going faster, but it's gonna fly no matter what. And we also have, Joe Slocum wrote a really nice letter, Karen sent it out yesterday to all of the contractors around town, and so, we can work on making a list of contractors and.
Yeah, he drafted that, and he just said, you know, I was thinking about what they said, and he said, I mean this to be helpful.
Yeah, no,
He
it's
said they
great.
can use it if they want, or they can use parts of it, and I said, no, I said, this is awesome.
It's a great letter, and we might edit it a little bit, but it's a great letter, and it was really kind of him to do that, so
Yeah.
we'll work on that list and get that out to contractors, yeah, it was good that once we got down to it with Lewis, that the gentleman from Wattsburg Park Road, that it wasn't students, it was you know, everybody.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, no, and Battle Ave is, now that I live on it, I've noticed noticed that even during the summertime, people are trucking, and then now with the new pavement out there, they're going a little faster.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's out of town, but,
yeah.
you
Well,
know.
that was nice straight, actually.
It is a nice straight stretch, I mean, you know, take the foot off the gas, and it just rolls forever now.
Yeah, but you know,
But yeah.
it's hard, I mean, we get people who come to the meetings and they're, you know, really, you know, they're not wanting to, you know, cause a problem or cast blame, but like
Right.
really concerned
Yeah.
about driving and safety. And, you know, I mean, I would say every other meeting, I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
exaggerating.
no, it's every.
So we are having, I think I mentioned last time, we're having an event also in October, a safe driving event.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll have, Department of Safety and a bunch of interactive things going on. Thought it did work really well last year, students and even folks from town showed up and experimented with some of that stuff, so we're doing that again. I guess the second week in October.
Second week,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll keep chipping away.
We just keep, you know. Okay,
If we get that date, I can put it on the website.
Yeah, I'll get it to you, I'll have Aaron.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah.
Sounds good to publicize it.
Yeah, we'll be doing a lot of talking about the parking and all that sort of stuff as well. It'll be good messaging out, we could get some more, I think Peter said he grabbed 5 or 6 signs yesterday, so we'll get some signs up. Some of our areas too, probably some more on Battle would be good. It's a big place, so,
so if, I had someone, a resident pull me aside the other day. And they said, you know, there's this pickup truck that zooms around and, you know, so if somebody sees that and they see a license plate, we should just get you the number, Peter, and.
unless it's mine.
Oh, there's his, please get it to me.
Yeah.
I got doppelganged last year, so somebody thought I blew the stop sign over there. So the same exact blue truck is mine, I drive about 17 miles an hour. Clearly it wasn't me driving, so, but it did look like me.
That's so funny.
It's good. Good. No, I say we had a cute scene out my office window 2 days ago with all the regimental companies, of course, marching through town. And I could hear these little kids that were walking up
Hmm.
Pleasant Street. And I don't know who they were. I didn't recognize them. They were young family. I think mom had a little infant. And then there were like two little kids who were like 5 and 6, but dad was calling out the cadence left, right, left, right. And the kids are like sticking their legs out. Is this my left? And trying to like imitate what they've been watching around town. It was just a sweet, sweet moment. We almost yelled out the window to them to cheer them on, but then we didn't want to kind of break their little family sphere. The kids were so excited to be like the big kids. It was fun.
Well, they've been around town more too. They've
Yeah,
got,
oh, yeah.
they've gotten up to it, they've gotten up Wadsworth Cove Road. And
Oh, no,
they're
it's
searching.
great. I actually like it in the fall. It's a.
The rhythm of the
Yeah,
town.
it's a rhythm of the town.
The
Yeah.
history and.
The first year I moved to town, you guys showed a movie on the Sal of the Bowden,
Mhm.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I keep, thinking of ways to do more MMA and town events. But, I don't know if it's too late for this fall, but it would be so fun if we had a movie night in town.
Mhm.
And we did it it was just, it was so cool. And so like in terms of fun community things, I think that would be so much fun.
I think so too. I think something like that would be good. Yeah, they did that. I think they hung a sail off.
Yeah, they hung it, they turned the sail.
Off the pacing.
I think they just turned the sail or
Oh, did
something.
they?
Yeah, the sail was off and they turned it and they showed the movie on the sail, I believe.
It is, it was something on the football field or something like that.
It would be so much fun.
Yeah, that'd be good.
No, but and I also think if, even if we had, 2 or 3 co-events a year, if there was an expense, we could share the expense. I just think that, anything we can do to build the relationship, not just on this level,
Yeah.
but on a student community level. And if we did something like that, we could have sign up for families to host students, just create more,
Yeah.
So that's live. The hosting family thing is alive and well. So contact Blossom.
okay.
And they're always looking for host families.
We should bring that up at the next select board meeting. That we're in, we can get David to write about it in the paper, because it's really good.
I agree with that. I mean, when you look at even like when the steel band comes in or whatever, we shut down the town, well, mostly shut it down. I think some cars didn't get the memo, but luckily there's enough room. But I think even some of these things like the speed education event, pull that down to the town dock area so that people feel like they can go, so they don't have to venture onto campus. And they know, hey, this is a dual activity for the community and the academy, I think would be good.
That's good.
I think getting off campus would be a good thing, even though it is kind of right next to the waterfront campus. But I just think that would be more inviting to the people too, less intimidating or anything else for them to take part.
And I need to mention too, our Ride Safe program is going very well. So that's that just got some more funding from our trustees, just donated. So
It's great.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we did have, Lori Lyman was in at the last town, was she at the last town then?
Yeah.
She was, and she had several issues, have you guys been able to talk with her, Peter? Yeah.
Myself, I know Sean has.
Okay, good,
So
great.
we've been in contact.
Thank you so much. Just wanna make sure.
We talked about it a little bit before the meeting started, so at last night's housing committee meeting, we ended up talking about the clinic and all the changes that are going on with the Northern Light, and the possibility of it maybe becoming a private office again. And then since the renovation is off the table now, we just had this, kind of open-ended conversation. Well, could the town, MMA, and some kind of development project go together to create housing there and a space for the the doctor's office.
Okay.
Because it's a huge resource. It's not being used to its, and now that it's like a sea change. You know, a few months ago, we were talking about having this whole new building and clinic, and now we're talking about maybe just having a doctor's office. So we just spoke casually before about, you know, how could we work together with MMA and some kind of housing idea to think about what that building could be? And, you know, I don't know if that's something that, you know, I don't know how important, like, I'm just gonna, so we were at the meeting last night and Tony's phone goes off and he's one of the EMTs. And it was a student, something that happened with a student, and he was saying that somebody's sick or hungover, or they twist their ankle, the EMTs get called right away. You know, they get notified that there's an issue. And so then that whole conversation kind of, it morphed into like, well, what if the clinic
Yeah.
provided more emergency services? So it wasn't like a conversation with a specific point, but it was just asking a lot of questions. Like, what could this be? And Liz, am I forgetting anything?
Not that, we were talking about, could the MMA and the clinic and the town have the same health service altogether, I think.
Yes.
Okay, well, I think the board of the clinic is a good place to start,
Right,
to talk to the hospital board about that.
yeah.
Some of those folks were in my office last week talking about, I said, you know, we're
Yeah.
quite cooperative, in terms of we can solve some of these problems together, even in terms of, like, we're always short, trainers. We were getting some from Northern Light, that kind of dried up, but so maybe within this thing, maybe there's an opportunity. If those are, you know, physician's assistants or something, they have a little bit different skill sets. We could share them amongst that. But,
Right. Sounds like there's a lot of good collaboration going on.
yeah, maybe we're ahead of the ball. It's hard to tell. This Anthem Northern Light thing is, it's a big problem.
Yeah,
It's an enormous problem.
Yeah. So we may all need to think a way out of that. But, yeah, because we were trying to figure out on Anthem, I figured we've got 250 employees on it at a minimum, ×2 for spouses ×3, so, you know, 500 or 600 people, if you include spouses and dependents, then students. Probably a third of them pay for our independent insurance, which I assume is Anthem, I'm not sure. And it all adds up. And then you got 700 or 800 students in our very close town, and then another 100 in the outer periphery. So it's a fair bit of people.
And have they made a decision as to what to do, or is it just kind of decision?
The last thing I received, because I think something, was that they cannot come to an agreement.
It was on the news the other night too.
Yeah.
And that Northern Light will not be accepting that insurance in.
Wow.
I think that's where it is right now, but I have heard that there are, I think there's some people in the legislature who are trying to say, you know what, we really need to see what we can do to force them
Okay.
into getting back together and seeing if they can come to
Okay.
agreement, because this affects so many people across the whole state of Maine.
Absolutely.
This
And I
affects the
think-
legislature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
true,
there
yeah.
have been
So they-
Yeah,
yeah.
the doctors.
I think there have been situations like this before, which ultimately, you know, kind of the 11th hour, it seems to have been able to resolve, because I think for any of these changes to take place, I think they're, from what I hear, talking about more at the end of the year, so I feel like we got.
Well, doctors are in October.
Well,
So,
that,
I said doctors are in October.
In October,
And then
okay.
hospitals at the end of December.
Oh, maybe that's what I
So,
heard.
you know, I mean, after the end of September, if you wanna go to your primary care physician, it's gonna be out of network. If you're an Anthem person and you go to Northern
And I
Light.
think the market, isn't the market closed like in November, so to choose an insurance plan,
It's
if
usually
you
the
go
fall.
out on ACA, yeah, so it's like November, so you have to, if you're gonna make a change, you gotta make it. So it's,
Not good.
Okay.
Navigational buoys, the decision has been delayed on removing those right now while they review the thousands of comments that, have come in about removing those, so they'll be, reviewing. The Coast Guard agreed to delay that while they review 3,000 public comments on its original ill-conceived proposal. That's in Senator Collins' office. I didn't make up that word or that comment, that came right from her office or whatever, so.
Speaking of movies, I had several people ask me recently, what's going on with the windmill and the wave,
turbine, yeah.
the turbine? People are saying that they go by it and they never see it spinning, so what's the status of that?
It did be turned on in the next couple of weeks is what we heard.
Oh, okay,
So they have, yeah.
I don't
So
know.
they've still gotta run the wire. They just
Okay.
got a group from UMaine out there last
Okay.
week or the week before.
so it's just not finished,
Not yet.
Not finished.
okay,
In process.
Yeah,
okay,
they gotta tie it into the grid and all that sort of stuff. It's feathered right now.
okay.
Roberta, am I allowed to ask a question of the president? So my question is about, during the course of the hydrological testing in the field between your house and my house.
Mhm.
One of the wells is pulled up water that's at 40 times, or sorry, 20 times the acceptable level for PFAS, so very undrinkable. And then a Tenny house behind that also has PFAS in the private well, and had to change out the filter. So the town voted in June at the town meeting to spend up to $15,000 to figure out where that PFAS might be coming from. And we heard last week that the engineering group wants to drill a couple of shallow test wells behind the president's house up towards the woods, because that's where they think it might be coming from. And we heard at the meeting that the academies refused to let that happen. And they didn't, and no reason was given. I'm wondering, is there a reason?
Yeah, we didn't want any wells drilled. We were willing to let our well, we have a well currently that's welcome to be tested, so they can go down and dip in that. But I also suggested they go up just beyond our property. There's grass area that is ours, they could go up there if they want. So it's still within our realm.
And why don't you want them to test?
I talked about it with the board. Our chairman comes out of the nuclear industry, doesn't like tapping anything for any reason, so. But you can get on either side of our property very closely. Our property isn't very
I
wide.
know, well, that's why I was
So
talking to Derek.
go over the field right on the edge. And to get up there, you're like 75 yards apart.
I mean, I agree with you. And I talked to Derek about it, but apparently the engineer had no interest in the town property, which goes up behind, or the Tenny property, which flanks your narrow strip. They seem to think that that's not gonna yield anything interesting, which I find hard to believe.
I find it hard to believe too, because that's strip, our property's like this, and then the other part's like that.
Yeah.
They can get right up to the edge for us, and we can make it accessible.
And where is the one private well that you're allowing them
It's right in the
to,
middle.
like behind the house?
It's behind the house, it's a little pump shed. And it's got a piece of wood over it, I mean, you should be able to just access it.
Yeah.
I think you can actually see the water, can't you? Yeah, that's gonna give you a pretty good idea what's in that water.
I would think.
Yeah,
And I don't understand their rationale.
I don't know.
They're looking at, again, they're not looking at bedrock wells,
Yeah.
they're looking for in the soils, because that's where that test on the fire station site was. The other reason I was looking at contour maps, and I believe the reason that they're saying checking the soils on the Tenny, if you look at the way it flows, it's a little flatter and gradual, and the water seems to move onto the Battle Ave fire station property from that general area and not there. It starts falling off the other way as you get further up, so that's why behind the MMA president's house seems to be where that, because we're talking about ground, like literally rain coming in, seeping into the soil and then moving through the soil, not getting down into the bedrock, which could take a month to get down into the bedrock. And then the Tenny property is up here, and it's more likely to sheet down towards Battle Ave, or even dissipate before the president's house, before it gets all the way to the Battle Lab, is what they described when I asked them, because I asked them, hey, could we do testing up here on the Tenny property? And they said, we don't think that would matter.
And how,
Yeah, I guess they could do that and they could say, okay, there's PFAS in that soil there, but they're saying it may not be affect or wouldn't affect our soil, so to speak, so.
have these two options that Craig was just mentioning, have they been discussed specifically with the engineers?
Yeah, I already discussed,
well
like,
on
the
the property
bedrock
that
well is useless
That's
for this
bedrock well.
purpose,
Okay.
because it's down hundreds of feet, and we're talking 20, 30 feet. So they're not looking for, they found that PFAS in the soils, and that's where the water, right? So they drill these wells, and then, of course, the water rushes into that spot. I'm surprised there's any water, given the fact we haven't had much rain, but, and that's the water that they test in these. Just like around landfills, you know, they do that to test whether or not the, whatever they call the nitrates are flowing away from the footprint of the landfill.
So just so I understand, what
Yeah.
you're saying is that way behind somewhere up there could have been a place where people were dumping stuff.
It could have been
And as
anything,
the
I
water
mean,
flows through that,
right.
it's picking up the PFAS and coming down.
Or it could have been fertilization or that was used at some point or whatever. So, and Josh had requested actually some PFAS testing on our sludge and influent at the wastewater treatment plant. And one of the things I noticed yesterday, and I asked just not to go down this PFAS rabbit hole, is, but I noticed in 2020, there were higher levels of PFAS in May of 2020, and then those levels drop in 20, or maybe it was 22, I think. And then 23, 24, they seem to go down, and then in 25, they come back up again in our sludge. So I'm curious of, okay, what might be happening between there and there, not that it's related to this particular PFAS, but it is the P4 and it's PFOS, I think, that the levels were high in, and I thought that was curious of, okay, what happened then, and then 3 years later, you know, was there something going on there that would have increased our wastewater? And it may be just something that naturally happens, I have no idea. It was just a little, when you looked at the data, you went, that's weird.
So then what happens to our sludge?
We dispose of it at wherever they dispose of a Carpenter, or whatever.
Juniper Ridge.
Right, Carpenter Ridge isn't open yet, that's the one up by Millinocket, that's the big holdback for an emergency site if they ever need it, it's fully licensed. Yeah, so that's where it basically goes, but it used to, well, I don't know where ours went, but a lot of it went like in Plymouth and Fairfield or wherever they used to spread all the sludge, or farm fields and in the countryside like Levant and Glenburn and wherever, Bradford. I remember they used to send that out, and Bucksport still spreads theirs out off 46 on property they own. Out of that shed. You get lost in Bucksport, go down the wrong dirt road, you'll get a scent of where theirs is in that shed, right, Pete? I got the opportunity to visit that once, and I almost didn't make it out. I was pretty much.
So just to go back to Josh's concerns, so is there clarity about where they'll continue to do testing or not, or, I mean, I guess I just want to.
They're drawing up, so they're going to retest, so they're drawing up a proposal for the board to review hopefully Monday. But I'll let you know by the end of today whether or not they have that proposal or not, or actually talk to Aaron. But so they'll still be retesting, monitoring well 3. And I talked about these alternatives. I said, we don't want to waste your money. These are not going to help you to test here or here.
Okay.
So they'll research number 3, and then they will do the interviewing type of thing where they'll interview people and say, do you remember something going on since 1955 that was up in this area that may have included, you know, fertilization, maybe burning something, cause the president, so. Ideally, it could have been, I remember, and my grandfather in Carmel used to have a burn pile out back in the '70s, right? Before the EPA started regulating stuff like that. He burnt everything back in that pile. He had a burn barrel. I remember that. They did away with those in the '80s, I think, in the early '90s. But so theory would have been, oh, hey, maybe MMA had to burn some carpets that they replaced at some point, but MMA hasn't owned that president's house that long. I just found out the other day, so it's nothing that
10
MMA
years,
did.
maybe 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this,
It was burning much
Right.
back there.
so it isn't like something happened in the '70s, you know, when we used to put oil on dirt roads and all that, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, so it couldn't be left over from something like that unless it was, you know, somebody else did that way back when.
Private owner, yeah.
And it wouldn't, and you know, and that's the thing, so, a nanogram, okay, I don't know if I sent you this report yet, but one nanogram, I think was like a speck of dust in 40 Olympic-sized pools, okay, so that's what triggers these amounts. So when you're talking about like 9 parts per trillion, or think about, that's a little speck that triggers this thing, because trillions, if you count the zeros, you know, there's what? 3, what is that? There's 9, 12 zeros in that, yeah.
So in my mind, the best case scenario would be they do some research,
Yeah,
they find something, in this time they had a burn pile, somebody dumped some oil or whatever, there's a refrigerator. Okay, they find what could be one of the sources, because we'll never know all the sources. So at that point, if there's a land to be removed, or you know, if they found the source, there, I would assume that there would be a remedy of some source that they would suggest, you know, do this or that. If it happens to be like half on MMA land and half an hour, I mean, I keep thinking like if we find the answer, what's the solution, you know, like.
and I don't even know if they will suggest doing anything. They'll suggest, okay, if you're drinking the water, filter it, you
Right.
know.
I think he
I'm not
used the
even-
term
there's the-
voluntary
Right.
remediation when he was presenting. You know, I
Right.
think that's probably I don't know the current status of the law in terms of those things, but that caught my attention. when
Right.
he used that phrase, you know, if something were found, what?
I
next
mean,
steps?
their theory is it's an old septic system that may have old gray water style system that may have sludge in it, and it could have just been household stuff that's slowly leaching out over time, or it could be like somebody used fertilizers for, you know, 30 years.
No, I think
Yeah.
I think we need to be clear about, you know, if we do this testing and we're just gonna do the testing and it's over, or, yeah, you know, I mean, it's.
I mean, if they find a clear, like, solid sort, right, like if the refrigerator full of PFAS.
No, I'm
I
just
mean,
saying, I imagine there's.
That's my, yeah, you're right. So they might remediate that, but don't forget, this is small potatoes compared to, for the state or anybody else, compared to like Fairfield and Plymouth, that their whole drinking water system is littered with it. And I don't know if that came from China. I don't know anything about that. I just know they're a hot spot for that. They're also a hot spot for like motor oil in the soils, because they used to spread motor oil back in the '70s in Plymouth, I think it was. So Plymouth seemed to take a lot of good stuff back, and I don't know why. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, they might say, yeah, do this, or they may say, leave it alone, you know?
We'll see.
It's gonna sit until it's like pulled out of like the wells, like, I mean, that's the way you get rid of it. You run it through our wastewater treatment plant, because obviously that's what happens. So as you use it, like I've repeatedly said, like in Allentown, New Hampshire, we have PFAS, or we had PFAS, they still do, I'm guessing, in one of the 3 wells, okay? They mix that with the other water. Slowly over time, if they can figure out the source, they would probably try to eliminate it. Otherwise, they mix it to safe drinking levels, and people are drinking it today. So, yeah. So, and that's a way over time, you would hope it would, you know, the levels or the parts per trillion will go down as, you know, it's refreshed with new water, but if it's running through some PFAS source that forever feeds it, it's gonna always be an issue. They don't want it to get higher, certainly.
Okay.
Go one step at a time and really
Yeah.
just see, there's so much that we don't
See
know
what they
Yeah.
right now, so.
Thank you, Josh.
Just real quick on the date on that, I just checked, it's September 23rd, 30.
September 23rd.
Peter, what all does that cover?
Pardon?
What all does that cover? Like just driving safety?
Yeah, we're talking about actually bringing in maybe some hunter safety stuff, some just safe
Yeah,
operation.
not for this year because you guys are already
Yeah.
pretty well done, but maybe in the future. Would it be possible for us to sort of work together and add a bike safety component? Or we bring the town kids in and talk about how to ride your bike safely on the street, how to ride your scooter safely on the street? Is that,
I think there is some motorcycle stuff.
okay, yeah, but not bike, cause your kids are bigger.
Yeah, we actually do have a lot of folks that do ride bicycles,
Yeah,
so.
But yeah, some bike safety stuff, and that way maybe we could pull in some of our younger residents.
We actually talked about hosting a bike rodeo at Field House, we just
Oh,
trying to figure out how that's gonna look.
that would be great, that would be great, because I think, one thing that, I don't know how much you guys experienced it, but I think the whole town experienced this year was, walking safety. I think we had a really tough walking safety summer. I've never seen 8 people across on Perkins.
Slows down the cars though. It's traffic calming in a different way.
Yeah, they don't yield for cars. You have to go,
For runners.
They don't leash the dog.
As I said at one of the meetings prior to, I'm afraid that's gonna be a bigger issue this winter. You know, because we're allowing folks to park all night and everything, and if they don't remove their cars during snow removal. Those, it gets tough to plow the sidewalks,
Yeah,
roads get narrower, and it's really much more dangerous driving in the winter.
right,
On
It is.
icy roads, and you have folks walking
With
down the
folks.
middle.
walking, yeah, and, but I think for next year, we can talk about something, maybe, I don't know if we have a day or we just create a flyer and put it in houses.
Well, so here's the thing, we were trying to be convenient for the people that last year and like, so not cry wolf type of thing, but I think this year, if it says like there's a 30% chance of snow, we might just say, okay, snow ban, because that's what got us, I think, wouldn't you agree, Sue, was a couple of those storms are bigger than they said they're gonna be, so we're like, 1-inch storm, and then it was 4 inches, or, so now I'm thinking, we're just gonna have to be jerks, but you know what? We're not really jerks, cause it's not all winter long, it's only during these periods.
Yeah, there were times when those bigger cities had parking bans, and I was waiting for yours to come out, and I just saw it, I'm like,
Well, you've never seen the huddle in our office where I'm looking at radars and weather forecasts and we're like, well, I don't know. But this year I'm thinking we're gonna be less analytical and more like, all right, let's just do it.
So
Because.
Peter, feel free to chime.
Right, if you don't think we're on, my cell is 207-595-0310, call it.
Well, I mean, if there's time when we think there should be one, feel free to just chime
Right,
in about the
exactly.
same guys, you're gonna, ban on.
Right,
Our decision is made, Peter, and
Yeah.
look at our window to the street. But what I'm gonna do this year, cause I had a pretty good view of Main Street last year, so I can give him a view of Castine. And he could get a look at Bucksport, and we could make a decision.
Right.
Whether to put people on the road, it's pretty reasonable, we get both towns.
right.
But now from the vaulty towers of Abbott, look at how on Battle Avenue, which doesn't always get plowed.
Well, that's why I put a camera in the window here, because it could be snowing in Bucksport and not here. So I'm like looking out at the road, and I'm like in the outback, and I'm like, oh, it's snowing in Castine, but it's not in Bucksport, so. That's what I did to kind of monitor the weather from 20 minutes away.
Yeah, I forgot to mention one more thing too. When we had a little incident on Main Street, was it a week and a half ago? We locked the college down, you guys reported to us, Hancock County, that was a good example of everybody working together pretty quickly with an incident, so.
And to that, I just wanna reiterate, we don't have any control of what Hancock County, the state police or any of those agencies will do. But we had a ton of folks call in our office, who wanna know what's going on.
Here too.
I
Yeah.
pretty much got as much information as anybody on the street does.
But they called you and asked you to shut down, or?
No, they called and asked what was going on, when it was.
No, but I mean, did Hancock County call you? Did the sheriff's department call you and?
No.
Give you notice?
No, I've had that conversation with them that, please realize that
Yeah,
we are
yeah.
here.
us too.
Alright.
And again, it happens so infrequently that I think they don't even realize those things happen. You know, I can count on one hand the number of times that we've sent out an alert or had something like that where folks would have been affected
Right,
in a school zone or something like that. We have good communication, I talked to Billy about it, and we've had good communication on going forward, especially now that we're back in session, and that shouldn't matter.
Right.
But
That's good.
it certainly elicited a lot of questions from folks on our staff, and folks I think that were just out about figuring that we had all the answers and we had absolutely no answers.
Well, I think I was on vacation, but my understanding is that the academy shut down, Sue knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
Derek
We didn't know,
nothing
we were
about
in
it
here.
And it wasn't until they heard that the academy was shut down that they're like, well, what is
We
going on?
weren't shut
So
down.
I think the
We just-
town
we
office,
just
the
lost.
town office was,
Yeah, so
didn't get that. So how did you guys just have a scanner that you knew
yeah,
something was going
on
on?
the scanner, they put out to our alert system to, this is going on. And we called it shelter place, because we didn't have anything else to call it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can't tell people not to go someplace, it's like waiting for a fire alarm.
right,
And the students, you know, we want them to muster or come to this location.
Right.
Half of them get into their cars and go into Bucksport. We can't stop them from going someplace, just like we can't, you know, it's for your safety, there's an incident going on. Please stay cautious and remain where you're at until we get it all clear. If somebody wants to go out and walk down on Main Street to see what's going on, we can't.
no,
I
right.
can't throw them in handcuffs and stop them.
We were concerned that we didn't get any notice from the sheriff because we would have liked to have done the
We
same thing.
didn't
for our
either,
residents.
we heard it on the scanner and I wasn't working that day, I saw it come through on the phone, I was in the middle of the lake, and I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" I called down and the was going on, and I asked the same, I said, did they call us, how us do that? And, you know, to the folks' credit, they made the decision that they didn't know enough what was going on, they just heard it was there. And
Yeah.
in abundance of caution, they just
Yeah.
gave that notice of, hey, this is going on, if you have to, stay where you're at until we get it all clear.
You know, and related to that, just, you know, I happened to be last Friday down in Wyndham, went through the intersection probably 3 minutes before that shooting happened. And it was probably 25-30 minutes before that alert went out apparently to the whole state. Because, you know, I was getting my oil changed and hearing all these cops coming from it, I'm like, there's something going on that's big. Of course, then I went back towards that area, couldn't get down there, and then all of a sudden it came up on the phone, and then I got to a friend of mine's house, they said, yeah, like there was a shooting, and of course, the rumor was at Dunkin' Donuts or Burger King. Well, it was in front of those places, in the middle of the street. But, so there's still always that delay too, so I don't know, like, the whole protocol and assessing the situation, and then you finally do it, cause the last thing you wanna do is cry wolf and cause panic for nothing too, but also, so I don't know what goes into that from a, you
But
know,
as far
from
as
public
them
safety.
reaching out to us.
Right, it would be good.
Is it better for you to contact them or is it better for us?
Just realize that 99% of the time in a situation like that, there was really nothing, they had this
Right.
be controlled.
Right,
Our folks just sort of put it out as an abundance of
Right.
caution.
Yeah,
If there is something like
Created.
happening down in Wyndham where you actually have people that you can't find.
they're gonna tell
They're,
us.
they're.
Law
they're-
enforcement
Right.
is gonna take,
They're
over,
gonna.
Right.
and they're gonna direct what
Yeah,
people need to
this one
do.
here, when I got the
Yeah.
full story,
Unsure.
Did we need to put out a thing? Probably not.
Right.
They knew where the person was, they had it contained.
Right.
But I think we put out more as a stay away from the area type of thing.
Yeah.
That type of thing. And nobody would have got close anyway, because the police would have said back
Right.
away.
Right.
But if it was truly, you know, somebody running through the woods, you know, with, that they didn't know where they were at, and we would get a call from the police, hey, this is
Right.
going on. We've got those in the past where they've been in Blue Hill, they've been in Bucksport. They have called us and said, hey, we got this going on, really shouldn't affect you guys, and we made the decision.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cause any panic by putting something out that's happening very long away, that's probably not gonna get here.
Right. If I could ask you, Peter, that this instance aside, where, you know, from your description, I think I understand, you know, that, you know, someone had made a decision, but in most situations, would you say that that chain of communication would typically start with the regional law enforcement?
Yes.
With the communities and the institutions or whoever they need to contact, that they're the ones making the decision that something needs to be locked down or secured or something like that.
They are going to give us as much information as we need for us to make that, it's still gonna be our decision if we wanna send that alert out to lock things down.
Okay,
They're going to suggest that, just, I mean, I'll use the example, we have a call that we came to that there was a person who was in, we don't know where they're at now. They're in Castine someplace. We would suggest that you put up an alert to shelter in place for the folks where they're at.
you're saying that's what they would advise you and then you would make a decision,
Right.
right, right.
Thank you, yeah.
And Randy's here, so, because Randy and I had this discussion too, so they got told, I remember hearing the fire trucks go out. But they were just told, hey, we need traffic control, right, or whatever, they didn't even know the true situation, nor are you allowed to really indulge that, right?
And all it was, there was no gun. There was a gun on site, but it was an email from a wellness check for the individual. There was not that information given to us, and we just had 2 EMS people that went to the site.
And like I say, something at that level, the policemen aren't even worried about,
Yeah.
you know, that,
Right.
like I said. I wasn't here, I got the alert, I called, and that's what was going on, I'm not gonna second guess what they did over here.
Yeah.
But, you know. The system went out at work, it just elicited more questions than what we were expecting.
Right. Well, it opened our eyes to like how the whole thing would work or could work or anything else for sure.
But you also don't want to panic people.
No,
Right,
That's the other part of this, that nobody is, they're taking bits and pieces of information and jumping.
Yeah.
To a conclusion.
We wanted,
or passing around wrong information on.
Right.
That's gonna happen regardless.
I know.
Yeah, quickly
It
too,
really is. It's
quickly
just
too.
an additional, you know, fuel to that.
So in the, and Randy can answer this, but if we had a true scene down here, we would actually have a communications person that would be able to put out accurate and timely information that would get passed out and hopefully fly out for the back end. Then that really limits the amount of questions because people are feeling they're getting true information. Something like this.
But is something like this, I mean, you know, like schools all over the country do these emergency drills now. Is it worthwhile for us to just, you know, have a training, or if something were to happen, this is what would happen, this is how people would get notified? I mean, you know, kind of, you know, it's just out of abundance of caution, okay. We got this report, somebody has a gun, okay, what's gonna happen? What's the order of people that are gonna get notified? You know, I mean, do we need to go that far, or do we feel like we have a good
well,
system
I
in place?
think MMA has,
So we gain those systems out, we have a protocol of how we do things that everybody gets to do an emergency action plan. What to do if,
right,
I would personally caution on us getting involved in how you folks are doing
yeah,
things.
yeah. No, but Derek and I were talking about perhaps finding someone to come in and do a training
Okay.
for us here.
Yeah.
For the library staff,
Okay,
like that. And
that'd be
it's-
great.
And just remember, you know, from what I've done in the past, and Randy, we train on this stuff all the time,
Yeah.
you know, and it very rarely happens. If you do it once and it happens 3 years later and you've done it, people are gonna forget.
They're
They're
gonna
gonna do what they're
forget.
gonna do.
That's right.
It's one of those things that if you're gonna do it, it needs to be constant.
Constant.
So be cautious on how you
Okay,
put that
thank you.
out there.
Or how confident you become because of one training.
Yeah, we would need to probably do
Yeah.
an annual.
Yeah. I
Okay,
mean, we have a, you know,
thank you.
40-page emergency action plan. I'm fairly comfortable that not everybody on campus has looked at that or looks at that weekly like I do to make sure that it's germane to what we're doing.
Right,
But we do the best that we can to try to make sure that if something happens, we're putting out good permanent information, so.
thank you.
One more quick thing, just so you know, I just happened, this popped up on, so September 13th is when MMA is gonna help Maine Coast Heritage Trust do so they're requesting if they can park vehicles along Battle Ave that day for the press, for the volunteers or whoever's there, and I'm gonna give them permission if you guys don't mind to do that on that day. So, and we'll try to get an alert out, you know, closer to that time to just tell people, yeah, we're aware they're parking there. But I'll also tell them not to park so that they block fire truck passes. They need to get
On the
over.
part on one side of the road.
So
Yeah, I would say one side, yeah.
I was so open up that that's a Saturday,
Yeah.
so Stevens Street Law will probably be fairly empty,
Okay,
if you wanna.
all right, that's good too, yeah.
I'm good. Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.